This is Hugh Ballou, the Transformational Leadership Strategist. Thank you for signing up for this page. This lesson is called The Definitive Leader. It is the definition of the transformational leader. Now, what does it mean to be a transformational leader? The transformational leader delegates. They learn to know what to let go of. They learn to focus in on what their primary gifts are. I am in this company to perform this task. I, as a leader, focus in on this area. This is my responsibility. Everything else belongs to people that I delegate it to. That's a very strong trait of transformational leadership. Delegate it, follow up, make sure that the people in your team, in your organization, have all the necessary information and that you encourage them. Does not mean that you micromanage. You delegate it, you support it, you provide the information, and you get out of the way. You find ways for these folks to report to you. There are points of contact where you can validate that it's going the way you perceive you want it to go, and they know it's going the way you want it to go. The last trait of being a transformational leader is authenticity. You model as a leader a high standard of ethics. You model as a leader a high standard of effectiveness. If you want people in your organization to plan and conduct themselves accordingly to that plan, plan your work, work your plan. It's no coincidence that that's a well-known statement because it works. So you as the leader model what you want to see in your organization. So authenticity and high standards and high ethics are very important to the transformational leader. I have developed 4 leadership principles, and let me give you a highlight of what those 4 leadership principles are. I have framed these 4 leadership principles in musical terms. If you've had music in your background, if you've ever played an instrument or sung in a choir, or you've ever been to a concert, I think you'll find that these give you some clarity. And these principles work no matter where you are, no matter what kind of organization you're in. They are universal. So the first one is, as a conductor, I need to know the score. When I step on the podium, I need to know everything that's in that score, and I need to have a strong mental picture of what kind of results I want to get from this orchestra or this choir. As a leader in an organization, when you step into an executive boardroom, you must be very clear on your foundations. What does your core value list look like? What is your vision? What is your mission? And what are your goals for this organization? Being able to be very clear on all of these principles enables you to be able to construct systems to be able to communicate with the team you lead very effectively. Being clear on what you want, being clear on the pathway to get there, and being clear on what it is you want to let go because you have people in your organization, on your boards, your committees, and your teams that you've chosen because they have excellent qualities. So to begin, this is the #1 mitigator of conflict in teams, conflict in organizations. If you are clear on the objective for your goals, if you're very clear on the outcomes you want to see, and you're very clear about communicating with people you work with and you delegate to, this is the desired outcome, and you set some standards, then everybody understands what is supposed to happen and when. Many times there's conflict that centers around lack of clarity. I have an idea, I did a job description. Well, that's only half of it. The other half is, let's define what the outcomes look like. So be very clear about your expectations and make sure there's a handoff to the people that you lead. You will be surprised how much conflict that eliminates before it happens. The #2 leadership principle that I have defined is hire the best players. Now, I wouldn't want to conduct an orchestra or a choir that had a bunch of mediocre musicians in it because I could never ever get to musical excellence. So I always looked for the very best skills that I could find. I found the very best musicians that I could find, and I spent time learning about their skills. So it wasn't a guess. It was for sure. I knew for sure that they were skilled. So then and only then could they be part of an ensemble that I was going to conduct, because the results were so important to me. Now, as far as your teams, your boards, your committees, in your organization, it's important that you find the very best people that you can find. You want to work with people that are excellent, because the results that you want are excellent. So choose people for their skill set. Choose people for their attitude. Choose people for their wisdom and their background. But choose people who are willing to work, willing to go to the results you want to see, and people that choose to work in this environment that you're setting up. It's important that they resonate with your values and your goals. So it's really good skills. It's also an attitude and a resonance, shall we say, in core values. My third leadership principle is rehearse for success. I've been to way too many boring and unproductive meetings in my life, as I'm sure you have. I don't want to go to a single other meeting that's boring or unproductive. And I certainly am not going to be guilty of leading one. So the principles for developing a strategy for effective systems is everything that you plan, every system that you implement in your company is setting a standard of excellence. You're actually changing the DNA of the organization to become the DNA of excellence. And that's a standard you, as the leader, can set. So to have effective meetings, let me just give you a couple of my points. In the lessons that you'll get in the Leadership Accelerator program, you'll get 10 lessons, 10 tips in one lesson about meetings that will give you all the ways to be sure that you have power-packed meetings. And people walk out of there saying, wow, I'm excited about what we planned and we are going to do. And there is buy-in. Number one, never, ever use an agenda. An agenda says activity. An agenda has other meanings as well. Instead, if you change the paradigm and you don't say we're going to talk about marketing, you define the outcomes in terms of deliverables. So you say we're going to define the 5 top strategies to market our organization so we can increase our results by 100% in the next 14 months. You see the difference? You've defined an outcome. Everybody's focused on, let's come to an agreement on what that is. We're not just talking about it. We got plenty of activity. What we want now is we want to see results. So we have good players. We've got a clear vision. Now we have to develop systems that work together, systems that encourage productivity, systems that eliminate conflict, systems that eliminate waste in the workplace. The average worker spends 20 hours out of 40 actually being productive. You don't want that in your company, your organization, your nonprofit, or your church, because that's wasteful. And in these days, we must be productive. Doesn't mean we work any harder. It just means we cut the fat. We cut the waste. Here's the last one. In music, there are rests. Rests are there for a very specific function. It's not just absence of sound. It's a punctuation in the musical masterpiece. So value the rests is the principle. This is about creating balance. Balancing all the priorities in your life. Balancing your workload and other people's workload. Balancing your personal life and your work life. Balancing your physical, mental, spiritual, emotional part of your being. So balance means a lot of things. In musical terms, we want to make sure the trumpets aren't playing too loud and we can hear the violins, or vice versa. We want to make sure that there is balance within the orchestra. Everybody's playing together, everybody's keeping the same tempo. So in your organization, you want to keep people on the same page. You want to create balance in your life because you want to be effective when you're working. You want to be at your peak. And that's what you expect from the people that you lead. So if you can follow those 4 principles, if you can incorporate those into everything you do in your organization, you can be a more successful leader. In the transformational leadership course called the Leadership Accelerator that you can sign up for, there's a link below. And when you sign up for this, you'll get $90 worth of bonuses. You get an extra lesson on goals. You get an extra lesson in audio on conducting power-packed meetings. And there's a few other things in there too. The retail value is about $90. If you don't like the course, you can cancel, but you get to keep these bonuses. They're valuable and they will change your life. I have worked these out in the School of Hard Knocks. I have made all the mistakes. So if you let me do it, I will save you the trouble of making the mistakes yourself. There are 13 weeks worth of classes, several bonuses. There are templates for planning, templates for setting goals, templates for running meetings. So it's the fill in the blank, but it's to stimulate your creative planning. It's to give you a guide so that you don't forget something, don't leave something out. I've worked this out over many years of study with leaders. So the Leadership Accelerator is the fast track for leadership excellence. If you feel like you've gotten some value in this course right here today, The Definitive Leader, you haven't seen anything yet. Get this course and you'll be glad you did. Click on the link and let's get started today.